Building a good dashboard is not about what all figures I can bring there, because you have like infinite possibilities. What kind of metrics you have, CPA, you can build cost per pretty much anything you can imagine, but you will be overwhelmed. You can have it somewhere in the detail table, so you can compare everything against anything pretty much. But first of all, you should curate your stuff. So focus on the most important stuff, and if you need, you can find like the more details, more like granularity and the stuff. But build the reporting in the way that you are able to identify the issues immediately within 5 seconds when you open the report, and within minutes or 2 or 3 minutes, you can read the page and identify what is causing that, or maybe not the specific issue, but at least it gives you some idea, direction. That, okay, something was not good with the revenue yesterday. Is it like a technical issue, or is everything correct, but I'm not receiving revenue because my checkout provider is not working, or maybe payment gate is not working? The space for the issue is like almost unlimited.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of VidTao podcast. Today, I have dear friend David Kadlub that had the issues with overpriced reporting, kind of complex setup. And I tried several different things, Upwork, whatnot, and somehow we got into the conversation. I explained the problem, we started working, and all of a sudden, you kind of see the magic of what can happen when you have amazing people around you. And it's been an obsession for us like the last couple of months. It's a data, it's a tracking, it's a reporting. Everyone wants to track, but how do you set up the infrastructure in a way that you optimize your costs, you deliver the insights, and you have the plan on how you can act on the results that you see. And David and his business partner Miro were just unbelievable in making that project come true. Essentially, we cut our costs, I think, for a couple of thousand USDs to something that was like, not even funny. Like we now pay penny USDs just for the storage costs. This is going to be a huge thing in the coming years. And I wanted to have just geeking out about the data infrastructures for the e-commerce info product brands or the owners, and how they can do it. What do they need? So this is why we're having David today.
This podcast is brought to you by VidTao.com. VidTao is our free YouTube ad library and spy tool, research tool. It's VidTao.com. At VidTao, we have close to 1 million unlisted YouTube video ads that you can search, find, discover how they're doing on a day-by-day basis, so you can really see what ads your competitors are running, see ads in different markets that you can model to create new winning ads for yourself, and a whole lot more. It's all there inside vidtao.com. Plus, we have a premium edition. So the database is free to access, but then we also have a premium edition where you have full unlimited access to the database. And inside there, we also provide training. So we also run an agency called Inceptly. That's INCEPTLY, Inceptly.com, where we've managed over $150 million on YouTube. It's a video traffic agency, and we've worked with everyone from brands like Descript.com, Huel, to real scrappy direct response info products, supplements, health, beauty, e-commerce, you name it, we've done it. And love sharing what we've learned. Every week we drop new training in there, everything from YouTube ad media buying to running e-commerce creatives on YouTube to hardcore tracking and attribution tutorials to really level up your data science game for advertising, and everything in between. Right now, as we speak, we're working on a training regarding YouTube Shorts. Hopefully we'll be live by the time you hear this. On and on and on. This is our passion, is video advertising, and we want to share it with you inside of VidTao Premium. And actually right now, for a limited time, you can get access to VidTao Premium for a very special price. So if you go to vidtao.com, sign up for free, check out the database, upgrade to Premium for this very special price, so you get access to all of the database and all the trainings. And also wanted to add that at Inceptly, we do free brainstorm calls with clients like you. So If you ever want to get help or ask questions about your YouTube ads, your video traffic on other platforms, we're available to chat. Just go to inceptly.com/call, CALL, and set up a time to chat. It's free and would love to speak with you. Our team's waiting to speak with you. So without further ado, let's get into the show.
David, welcome. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and what do you do for a living? And how did you ended up into this?
Hey everyone, first of all, thanks for the invitation. I'm more than happy to spread the word and the knowledge across the industry. It would be shame to not share my knowledge with you. So hopefully we will cover as much as we can throughout the session, and you will learn something and you discover opportunities about the data evaluation, reporting, tracking, and all these buzzwords. Yeah, you name it. So yeah, I'm coming from Slovakia, Central Europe, and basically my mission and vision, we always try to help the clients with the data, not only about the final results, like you mentioned, some reporting stuff or automation, but also the tracking, the storage, and the stuff around it. So. Is there anything you would like?
I would like. I would like to kind of know more about your background and how did you ended up working with data, because it's not that I'm going to meet the random person on the street and they would be, oh, what do you do? I play with a BigQuery. So what is your what is your story? How did you ended up in this most exciting thing?
I always somehow was attracted to the numbers. That's the reason why I also studied the statistics, and it is somehow connected into the all kind of analysis, analytics, data engineering stuff. But eventually, after the university, I started working as a data analyst in mobile gaming industry. So there is also like the root of my knowledge. It's a little bit, as some of you may know, there is a little bit different to the e-commerce industry in some terms, because the nature of the buyback period and how spending patterns and everything work a little bit different, because you focus more on the long term, not like the short term. But I would say that the roots, which all the industry stands on top of, is really similar to each other. Because if you want to measure something, you need to define what you want to measure, how you want to measure, and then build your stuff on top of that.
Okay, so when you say that there are similarities between mobile and, say, let's use this broad term, e-commerce or info products, a lot of our audience come from info product space or affiliate even space. What would be those similarities between mobile industry? I'm extremely curious about this, because I saw a lot of podcasts and some videos and read some blog posts about the obsessity of a gaming industry around the data and how they measure everything. But what would be the similarities in these two spaces?
Yeah, so the age is a little bit different than 10 years ago, and you can rely on the organic traffic in both industries, but there is not a thing what you would like to do right now. You would like to attract the traffic, which is like bringing some money on the table. First of all, you would like to monetize the traffic you bring into the application, into the eShop, and you do not want to just squeeze the money from the people. You would like to engage them. You would like to attract them, and not in the first place. You would like to retain them. So yeah, it's fine to attract people who spend hundreds of dollars within the application, within the eShop. But better than that is, is fine to have the user base which is loyal to you, which can spend or engage within your platform, within your eShop multiple times throughout the lifetime. And that is what makes some kind of relationship between the players and users and the actual platform you are spending on, you are trying to scale up.
And what are like the main KPIs sorry for staying on this for a little bit longer. What are like in our industry, it's like a cost per acquisition, it's a revenue per leader, it's a return on the ad spend. Like what would be like usual KPIs for a gaming industry? I know it's very broad, but do you have anything?
Okay, so starting from the bottom, basically you need to measure two things: CPI, LTV. One side, how much you pay for the users, for the players, how much they bring you, basically. So yeah, these two are the most essential ones you would like to see on daily basis. Compare how you stand, where it goes, and if the steps you are making into the acquisition channels make sense. And there we comes into the main difference in the e-commerce, like you said, the broad term. You are able to measure LTV on kinda more short-term way or basis, because if you target some supplementary e-shop or whatever kind of the product you are selling, then you are able to say, if you are not selling the subscriptions, you are able to say that, okay, this particular user brought me XYZ dollars, because it can be really easily attributable into the campaign which brought this user. On the other hand, in the mobile segment or mobile gaming, it's more long term, because if a user is like engaged into the application, it is not the exception that they spent 1 year plus in that game. It means that you are not able to say after 3 days after the acquisition of the user what is the LTV of that user in the game. You need to more predict. You need to have some kind of the forecasting, and that might be one of the biggest differences between these two industries.
And when you say that's a great. When you say forecasting, so essentially you forecast what's going to happen in the future, and then based on the forecast, you optimize channels or the strategy for channel acquisition. Is that something that is happening, or?
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, yeah, based on the early performance, first 7 days, first 14 days of the player lifetime, you are able to see beginnings of the curve, like the LTV curve looks like. Is it like a flat? Is it like a fast growing? Is it like a S shape? So based on that, you are able to say what kind of users are being attracted for the creative you have, because that is also the thing you need to measure. It is not about just what is the target audience. It is combination about a lot of factors, like creative, targeting, what is the name for that? Bidding settings, what caps you have set up on your campaigns, on your ad sets, and it's sometimes crazy that even the same setup across the time can bring the different users. So you can be running one campaign for 1 year, and from the beginning it brings completely different users, different segment of users than it brings after 1 year. So it is not definitely something you need to check once and you can rely on that. It is continuous process of improvements, of iterations. So yeah, more you are willing and able to fine tune, see the patterns in the data, better results you can get.
And what would you use? And sorry, I'm a complete noob for this. Like, what would you use to set up the forecasting? What is the technology behind? What math is behind?
It really depends on your possibilities you have, because even the most essential and basic stuff like a trend line in a Google Sheets can do the job. Because always when we say forecast, we see prediction, people start thinking about the data science team. It's right. But what is the reason for hiring the data scientist if you are spending 30K or 10K on a monthly basis?
Yeah.
So always start with the stuff you are able to check on your own, or you have people around you which can help you. Trendline in Google Sheets. You can use a linear regression in Google Sheets. There is a lot of add-ons which are free or costing you few bucks on monthly basis, and can bring the value to the table. So for sure, if you can do the math or statistics, you can build your own regression models, data science models. You can leverage ML AI, which is like a kind of buzzword these days, but it really goes hand in hand with the spending level you have. So more you are spending, more you can see like even the small changes you can make with the stuff, because bringing additional 0.3% of the revenue on the level of 10K monthly basis spending, budget spend, it is not definitely the lowest hanging fruit you can have. But if you are spending 50 millions on monthly basis, 0.3% sounds me like a good reason to hire some data scientists.
So with your background in the mobile gaming, which is obviously one of the biggest spending verticals in a paid advertising, when you come in this space, is there something that you see where you are like, why these people don't do this? Like, is there any low-hanging fruit within the e-commerce space or affiliate space that, based off your experience in a mobile gaming, you think would be beneficial for that community as well?
Yeah, definitely. If I should and I can choose only one word or one term, I would say accurate measurement. So definitely you cannot, or you can, but it's really hard to improve something if you cannot measure it. Because what is the improvement in terms of, is it like a gut-based? You feel that it works better? Yeah, it might work that way. You can see that in the end of the month, my bank account is a little more fat than it was like a few months ago. But can you reproduce something like that? You can be successful as hell on one project, but can you transfer this knowledge from one project to another? Yeah, maybe you can, but if you cannot measure the progression, how it looked like before, how it looks like right now, you are kind of in blind spot, because you are relying on your gut and on your feelings. So if you can accurately measure something and have like a track record or a history of the changes, history of the performance and everything, you can attribute what changes were like made and what is the consequence in the performance of the campaigns, of the traffic, and eventually the revenue you are receiving.
Yeah, I briefly before starting this podcast, we had a discussion about this topic, and this is, I think I brought it that what I see, my experience, and it looks like yours is similar. Like, a lot of people start to put the tracking in place, but they kind of never get to the bottom of it. So it's always like, you get it like a 40%, right? And then there is, another 60% that need improvement to get everything in place.
Yeah, I kind of relate to that, what you said. And I'm a huge advocate of iterative process. So it doesn't have to be like the perfect at the first step, but let's define what is your MVP, minimal viable product. Yeah, you can imagine that you would like to measure everything from CPA, having centralized everything at one place. What is the buyback period, everything like that. But let's start with like the most essential stuff. What are you interested mostly in? It's revenue. So let's start with like accurate measurement of the revenue you have or your clients bring to you, spend in your platform, spend in your products, spend in your subscriptions, and later on you can start building on top of that. You can start measuring the retention. You can start measuring, if you have subscription, what is the average lifetime of the subscription? Are people like willing to buy something more, like add something into the subscription or not? Are they removing? So definitely not try to do everything perfect at the first step. let's be satisfied with like the good enough setup. I mean, good enough not in terms of accuracy. I mean, like in terms of wideness. How wide is it? What can it cover? So better to start with like the essential stuff, but working for 97+% in terms of accuracy, because it's like kind of 80-20 rule. The hitting like a 100% takes maybe 10 times more time than hitting 97% accuracy. So let's set up some thresholds like 95%, 97%, and you are able to even like compare that, because you have your like account transaction list, so you know how much money lands on your account in the end of the month, and you can see what you tracked in your platform, in the Shopify or whatever platform are you using, or Hyros, and you can compare and start from that point. Let's try to make it accurate, at least for the revenue, so you are able to compare what is the spend in the channels, what is the revenue you have, and later on you can start like a drill downing into it. Maybe attribution model, which kind of attribution model should I use, and so on and so on. I do not want to be like too specific, because maybe not everybody is interested in these details. Maybe we can set up like a next session for this podcast to be more detailed.
I think our audience is actually interested into details, and this leads me into my like next question. Mm-hmm. I think you brought a great point about like the diminishing return of relative to your ad spend. So if you are spending 10,000 per month and $500,000 per month, there is definitely different setup that you're going to have on your team, or the agency that you hire, or whatever that you kind of bring in to figure out that tracking and reporting, so you can spend your time on acquiring a new customer. So let's say that we have, the brands that are doing between 200,000 and like 1 million per month in ad spend. Like, what would be, in your experience, the setup from infrastructure standpoint that would be more than enough to accommodate their needs? And we talk mainly about e-commerce space, about the brands and some info products. For example, I know that there is a lot of people in our, and this maybe can relate to the mobile game. We have a lot of users at VidTao that run these high ticket offerings where they collect leads, and then they have longer conversion window for these people to convert into the buyers. But like, if you can, give your opinion, like what would be like a tech stack that you can use that would be cost efficient, but then still from the performance standpoint, cover all the needs that people have?
Okay, so it really depends on size of your team, first of all, whether you have some technical background, because it really depends what services you would use, what infrastructure would look like in the end. But I can split it into like two segments. The first one is like quick to do and quick to gather insights, and it is not as robust, not as much customizable as it might be in the second option, but the value you can get there is like almost immediate. So let's start with that. First of all, you need to centralize the data somewhere. If you want to compare like all perspectives or angles, I mean like the channel view, what is the spend, what is the traffic, what are the like number of impressions, number of clicks, so you can see the first part of the funnel, and also seeing the other part, like how many leads it brought, what is the revenue, and so on. You need to centralize that at one place so you can compare at one table, to be simply said. For that, you can leverage Google Analytics. So a lot of services I know have like a direct integration to Google Analytics, and it brings the data at one place. So that might be the first option. Another option, if you are kind of the Excel guy, Microsoft Excel, I mean, you can leverage scheduled reports to Google Sheets. So it can every day bring you like a Google Sheet with new data. So what you just need is like a combined couple of sheets and having like the master sheet where you have like a formulas, references to the original sheets, and you have like the reporting done. So these might be like a little.
But when you say Google Analytics and combine all data, do you mean like send all the? Can you actually do that? Again, asking from a position of a noob, like can you send the spend from a Facebook into the Google Analytics or GA4?
Okay, so for that we would need to go a little bit further down the road, because we would need to centralize it in, for example, BigQuery, which you already mentioned even before. That is like the data warehouse where you have like a Google Sheets saved as table. So I would say in really like a beginner view, it works like that. You have like a list of tables and there is stored like a data like you have in the Google Sheets. And for that purpose, yeah, you have like the free connector of the Google Ads from the Google Ads, I mean, into the BigQuery. So it is updated every day, and you can have all the data you have in the console of Google Ads. From the Google Analytics perspective, it works the same way. It's the Google service or Google product you are using. They have native and free integration from the Google Analytics to Google BigQuery. So everything what you have in the Google Analytics, you can have like a replicated or duplicated in the Google BigQuery. And on top of that, yeah, we can use the same logic, either to put the data into the Google Sheets, which I mentioned before, and you can play with the data, build wonderful reports, even visually, also like from the content wise. But if you are a little bit more technical educated, you have some background from tech, and you know SQL, you can use the code. Or I have ever seen like a really amazing tool, Chat GPT. It's basically you can type there, just combine me Google Ads data or in the BigQuery with something else, and it is not maybe 100% correct, but it gives you like the amazing starting point. So it builds you the query, and you just need to adapt how it works. So for the like beginners, really recommend to check that out. But come back into the what I said before. So when you have it centralized in Google BigQuery, you can build the amazing reporting in Google Sheets by BigQuery connector, which is again the native thing on Google Sheets. So you can link table into the Google Sheets and you can build something there, or you can use Google Data Studio, or now named Looker Studio. So it's more like visually appealing stuff. It works like the reports. You have like a couple of pages. You can leverage the charts there, tables, line charts, bar charts, pie charts, whatever you need, and it is automatically updated. So I would say that these, what I said now, it gets me into the second part of the infrastructure, or the second section of the infrastructure, which I made the split in the beginning of this part, and that's actually if you are leveraging more services like a Hyros, you have like a webinar gem, you have, you name it, ClickFunnels, Funnelish, whatever tool out there, and they have some option how to get data from there into the BigQuery or another data warehouse based on your choice. And with SQL query, which is like a snippet of the code, like a block of the code, you can aggregate all data together and push it into the Looker Data Studio or Looker Studio, Data Studio. Yeah. So that would be. So
essentially, essentially to sum it up, get all the data into the warehouse and then use SQL programming language to build the queries that will essentially join the data together, that will build the picture of your KPIs.
Yeah, SQL is the way how to automate the stuff eventually, because you need to type it once, it works. until you do some changes in the tracking, it will work the same way. So it will produce the results. If you once validated it, it will work. But if you are not capable of that, as I said in the beginning, every table in the data warehouse you can imagine as a Google Sheet. You can connect this table into the Google Sheet. So you can have like a couple of Google Sheets, and if you know how to manipulate data there, you can create even like a master Google Sheet where you have all this data combined, consolidated, and you can handle it from front end. Because SQL might be like some ugly guy to do for someone, but Google Sheet might be fine. And if you are satisfied with the results that you can do it on your own, it's pretty much free because it doesn't cost you anything but your time. Might be the product you are looking for.
And I think it's very important to explain to the audience like why you need setup like this instead of just having Google Analytics. Like
really good question.
I think like when we have these conversations with the clients, this is like, oh, okay, I have the data in Google Analytics, but it's not like that. It's not like that. Like, do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, sure. I have like many comments on this, but the first one by far, which I would like to mention, is that in Google Analytics, if you want to fix something, let's imagine the situation which happened to all of us. The revenue is duplicated. Yeah. So you are having two sources of the revenue, and they somehow are combined in the Google Analytics, and you see the twice figures. Okay, it's fine, but you cannot actually fix it, or you can fix it, but the effort needed for fixing that even into the history, because you can discover that after 30 days, what is disaster if you are duplicating the revenue, but it's really hard to do. On the other hand, when you have an access to the data, you are doing the manipulation, you are owner of everything. So if you spot there is some discrepancy in the data, so you are measuring revenue twice, because one, the ClickFunnels brings the revenue, another time is like the Google Analytics bringing the revenue, or Google Tag Manager is tracking the events with the revenue. Some service is like duplicating the revenue which is supposed to be there. Yeah, you just exclude revenue from some source. So in the ClickFunnel, replace the revenue by 0, because I know that in other source I have it like correct. Simple as that. So you are not a slave of the figures you have. You are the master of the figures, because that's your stuff, what you defined. And it is not just like that, because when we go more down the road, that you build something what you are like satisfied with, but you change, for example, the provider of subscriptions, for example, from service A to service B. Having everything in order, like connected in Google Analytics, requires like a lot of testing. But speaking of like a manipulation of data, in the end, you end up with a table which contains like a subscription, type of the subscription, date of the subscription, revenue. So in the end, you have the same shape, maybe different labels, maybe different stuff, but you can consolidate it with the previous provider of the subscriptions and everything, and it's much easier to hop from one provider to another this way for the reporting purposes and the automation and everything, than having everything set up under some vendor, for example, Google Analytics.
Okay. And then I have another question. Like, okay, we covered data warehouse, which essentially is either BigQuery or Snowflake or AWS or whatnot. We covered the sources, which could be like a Google Ads. But I think we need to have a little conversation about essentially the event trackers, which Google Analytics is always an event tracker of a sort. Like, what is your opinion on Google Analytics on the one side as a free tool together with the tag manager, and on the other side, tools like Segment, like Rudderstack, or I don't know what like Particle, or I mean there is hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And what is your opinion also like on a ETL tools or ELT tools? And on the other side, like a free version, which is building your own connectors. So I would like to know like two things. Number one, like, and especially if you are familiar with the server side integration that is coming for GTM, I'm not. But so asking you from that, like what let's start with the first one. Like what is your opinion on a Google Analytics on one side as an event tracker and then everything else on the other side, like a Segment or Rudderstack?
A lot of times there are only small changes or small differences between the tools, and I wouldn't like to drill down too much into the differences on their own. I mean, like the different providers and the setup. I would say that your priority should be to have like the accurate data. If you are like used to using Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics, do it that way. Just be sure that your events are like correctly defined. They are triggered when they are supposed to be triggered. They are not triggered multiple times and the stuff. And if you are used to, I don't know, Hyros, which can be also the platform for gathering the data and everything, I'm not even sure if you can configure events there.
I don't think they do. I don't think they have event tracking. I think they only connect like a specific events, like a sales.
Okay, so it might be a little bit different. Yeah. Okay, so forget about the Hyros and let's get back into, for example, Rudderstack. So main difference in these two like worlds, I mean like the free and the paid, or you have like even the free version of the Rudderstack, but is maintenance effort. Because if you need to change something, the more simple solution is somehow connected to the lower effort on your end. On the other hand, you are not able to customize it so much. So
can we stop for a second and explain to the audience what is, for example, Rudderstack and a Segment? I think a lot of people kind of don't have the clear understanding on that.
I'm not sure. Hopefully nobody from the Rudderstack is listening to this podcast. Not sure if they will be happy with my explanation. But one of the things you can use the Rudderstack for is the tracking of the events on your page. So you can prepare piece of the code named snippet, which you paste in the code of your website, and it starts tracking the events and the parameters. So if you have like a checkout page on your eShop, then yeah, you can track the parameters like what is the order ID, what was the purchase value, and stuff like that. In the Google Tag Manager, you can do exactly the same thing, but the difference is how you can work with these events. Because primarily, Google Tag Manager is associated with Google Analytics and it sends events there. So from that point, yeah, you can see it in the dashboards, in the reporting, and everywhere inside the Google Analytics. In Rudderstack, you do not have the dashboards like the product of this service. It is more like that you have these events which you can send to whatever source or destination you would like to. So if you are having Google BigQuery as a data warehouse, yeah, you can route these events there, and it will show up there, and then you can start playing with the data. So
and I think like one of the main value propositions is actually kind of connecting your they call it customer data platforms, like connecting your marketing efforts with your CRM, which on a Google Analytics, like due to privacy issues, like you can't, within the Google Analytics properties, you can't store, for example, connect email with or store email with the source of of the traffic, which is possible for Rudderstack, and I think definitely for Segment. So essentially, you can have a traffic source within your CRM stored alongside all the properties of the user. So I think that's the additional value, at least what I understood about it. So to kind of sum it up, we need a data warehouse. We need, which is a BigQuery, Snowflake, or AWS. We need event tracker, Google Analytics, Rudderstack, Segment, and then we need the reporting BI tool. Like, what is your take on a reporting BI? You already mentioned, for people familiar with the Google Sheets or Excel, but what would you recommend on the more robust solutions like a Looker, Power BI, or whatnot?
Okay, so you mentioned a couple of them, like Power BI, Looker Studio or Data Studio, formerly. There is also like the Tableau, Metabase, a lot of providers which can provide you like a connection into your data warehouse and visualization of the data in the end. So you can have like the charts which you can read almost subconsciously. So you open the dashboard, because compared to Google Sheets, what you need to do, you can have like a conditional formatting, but in the end, you are reading the numbers row by row. You need to compare the numbers, and the cognitive load when you start reading the data is pretty high. On the other hand, reading the trends over the time is almost like a miracle. Yeah. If you can do that like a spontaneous, like instantly after opening the sheet, you are good for me. But most population can read more in the visual way. So Google Sheet might work for someone. On the other hand, I'd highly recommend using the visualized way of the data, so you can see trend lines as a line, on the chart. So you can see if it goes up, if it goes down, if you have some anomalies there, because it might happen, which is hard to spot in the purely numeric way if you have it in the Excel way, I mean like a tabular form. So that might be the biggest benefit of using visualization layer on top of your data. And regarding my suggestions on the providers, I would say go with what you are like familiar with. So if you ever previously worked with Tableau, go with Tableau. If you use Looker, use Looker. There are differences for the like easiness or how hard is to build something in these dashboards. And I believe that if you go with the BigQuery, your primary choice, at least for giving it like a shot for the first time, should be the Data Studio. It is free. You are not paying anything there. You can build visually appealing stuff. You have also some like templates with the formats, so you can inspire there that okay, something like that I built on my own, and it's in the end it's a drag and drop environment. You have like on the right side you have like the fields. You choose that okay, I would like to see bar chart, so I choose bar chart. I drag some dimension, I drag there some and drop there some metric, and you see the results. You can change colors and everything, but that you can do in pretty much every visualization tool. So it's free and easy to learn. Definitely, like the learning curve is really like a steep from the beginning. So majority of the stuff you will be using there, you can learn within a couple of days, and within the hours. You are able to build maybe not the most visually appealing the stuff there, but from the content perspective, everything you need. So definitely give it a shot and try it out. And
when you create, sorry for interrupting. When you create the reporting, like I know that in the beginning you get your KPIs, but how do you? And when I say you, I think personally you. How do you approach it from a design standpoint? Like, do you see the difference of the usage of the reporting if you design it in one way or the other way? From what I see, it's pretty much especially within our community, it's the same. Like, but probably your experience is way wider in this sense. Like, how do you approach the design of the reporting?
Design, you mean like the front end of the reporting? Or
yeah, the front, like how does it look like? How do you put like a CPAs on a timelines, on a plots, on a bar charts? Like how you approach that? I'm just asking, like, out of curiosity, how do you like to put the things visually?
Yeah. So first of all, if it is
because you mentioned like a cognitive, sorry for interrupting. You mentioned like a cognitive load, so I assume you already have some kind of psychology in the way that you like to present data. So that's where I come from asking this question.
Yeah, so definitely always start with like big S numbers. So you are mostly interested in the numbers like what is the revenue for yesterday? What is the overall revenue for some period? What is the spend for yesterday? What is difference? Like what is the ratio between the ad spend and the revenue? This kind of stuff. So these you would like to have in the first row or in some part of the screen you see immediately when you open it. If you have some because not just the numbers bring you the value, also some I name it like the traffic lights model. So if you have some constraints, or I don't know, that you are not you would like to not spend more than 50% of your revenue for the ad spend the next day, you don't have to build, you can build a line chart where you have it like a trend line over the period. But what you need is basically like the red light or orange light or green light, and you immediately know when it is placed on top of some figure if it is within the limit or not. If it is not within the limit, you can go down, like you can start scanning the next row. So for example, I see that my ROI for yesterday was like 80%. It is below the threshold I set up when I start working on this project. So all these figures must be or should be drilled down into more time fashion. So it is not just like a high level figure like 1 million of something, but it is like on Monday it was like that, on Tuesday it was like that, on Wednesday it was like something else, and you see the clear like a trend line. Is it red because of the only last day, or is it red because of the last couple of days, or is it completely screwed and I need to do something with it? So big S numbers on top of the page, and then start drill downing into it. So maybe you can break down the stuff based on the channel. So I see that I would like to spend 50% of my revenue for the next day as an ad spend, but I see that 75% was yesterday. Okay, so why? So first of all, if I already know that it was yesterday, I need to just compare, different sources.
Yeah.
Where the ad spend was like inflated. I mean, like where it was spent more than I expected, and you can see that Google Ads, spent 50% more budget than I allocated there. What happens? It is not the exception, so biggest numbers, trend lines, and then break down into these trend lines more into per channel, per creative, per campaign, more like that. So I would say the most high level stuff in the header of the page, and then more and more detailed, so you can read it as a story. So you come with like an intention that I would like to see how my performance was yesterday, and you can read it page by page, row by row. So basically, what was the ad spend? If it is like not as I expected, why it was like that? So you drill down into the daily basis or weekly basis. Yeah, and I see, here it is not good. Why it was not good? And exactly next row, why it was like that? Because the Google Ads. Was it like a one campaign, or was it like more campaigns? What happened there? I see, this is the campaign which broke like happens or causes the issue. So I have like another page focused on the campaign performance. I go there, I filter based on this campaign, and I see what's happening there. So yeah, consider it as a good book or good story. You need to read page by page.
So essentially, you want to make it as easy as possible for user to get what they want from reporting in very structured way.
Definitely, because building a good dashboard is not about what all figures I can bring there, because you have like infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
What kind of metrics you have? CPA. You can build cost per pretty much anything you can imagine, but you will be overwhelmed. You just you can have it somewhere in the detail table, so you can compare everything, against anything pretty much. But first of all, you should curate your stuff. So focus on the most important stuff, and if you need, you can find like the more details, more like granularity and the stuff. But build the reporting in the way that you are able to identify the issues immediately within 5 seconds when you open the report, and within minutes or 2 or 3 minutes you can read the page and identify what is causing that, or maybe not the specific issue, but at least it gives you some idea, direction. That, okay, something was not good with the revenue yesterday. Is it like a technical issue, or is everything correct, but I'm not receiving revenue because my checkout provider is not working, or maybe payment gate is not working. Issues. The space for the issue is like almost unlimited, but definitely.
So, okay. Yeah. Well, next question. Like when because you kind of laid into it. Like when you guys take over a new project, like what is the situation do you see so often that you guys feel like, oh my God, again? Like, do we really need to deal with this again? Like, what is the number one mistake that people make over and over and over and over again without kind of being able to understand the impact of that mistake and not taking care of it properly?
It's pretty tough question, because you can see like a clear patterns of things which can go wrong. But there is no like the single one which is happening for everybody, because you have like the projects in different stages. Some clients start a new project.
But for example, like what is the one thing that you can't fix? I give you an example. Like even if you set like a wrong tag to fire on the wrong page, you can find the other way to figure out, okay, the purchases. But what is the thing that, if you have any, that you come across and where essentially there is nothing that you guys can do to kind of reconcile that?
Okay, so first of all, if you do not have historical data, you cannot evaluate anything obviously from the history. So
that's a good one. That's
the mistake. Everybody would like to know what is the subscription. Subscription, like what is the name, curve, or the LTV, or average revenue per user over the months, or for example retention of the subscribers. But it's really hard to say if you do not have like a data for, I don't know, last year, only for last month. So
and that's also becoming very important now when GA4. I think the freshness of data would be either like 2 or 14 months, something like that.
I heard about it.
And after that, I'm not sure what's happening.
I do not know about the specific number, but something there is some retention period set up, and after that you are basically not having that. Simply said. But back to the issues. So a lot of times we see issues with wrong tagging of the campaigns. So a lot of times people set up the tagging in the way that you start tagging, I don't know, source, medium, campaign, maybe something additional, and that's it. And you go to the point that you start running like the fresh creatives, and you would like to compare the performance to the previous ones. And here we go again. You did not track it. There is no way how to identify which creative basically broke this specific user. So not having the data would be like the issue number one. And then attribution, tagging, attribution, and that stuff is really hard to fix, because if purchases
did you found sorry, again, we have a little delay, so I'm interrupting you all the time. Mm-hmm. Did you found any solution? Because, for example, this tagging, auto tagging from a Google and a Facebook, like any software that centralized UTM tracking and make it like unified across the whole company? Because that's also my experience. Like that, the source medium, it's a nightmare. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it is, but not yet. If you know, tell me.
Not really. Just asking.
Yeah, I when we start like the fresh project, I mean like something new, and it is not in the phase that it's running for 3 years, and you need to somehow consolidate the data, because changing something in the running machine, it's always a headache. But when you start with like a fresh project, greenfield, it's the best case, because you can set up the convention. Yeah. So sometimes the thing, what you were not able to do, or what you are not able to do by tagging, because if you put there like too many tags, they are like truncated, they are not getting through the some layers, some tracking, and the stuff can be fixed by good naming convention of the campaigns, naming convention of the assets, naming convention of the creatives, because you can imagine that having 30 tags within the attribution might be nightmare for maintenance. But when you upload new creative and it's like in the resolution XY and it's in the name, it's much easier to combine ID of that creative with like the properties of that creative. So definitely regarding the attribution, tagging might be something people should consider more, especially when they want to build the reporting or maybe analytics in the way they would like to gather insights, what performs best, why something performs better than anything else. So it is not about the quantity, solely about the quantity. It's definitely about the quality, but having like a more qualitative stuff is better than having no qualitative stuff.
Definitely. Okay, so we're getting to the end. What does make you excited within the industry? What are the obviously GPT-3? We are all excited about that, but what specifically within your profession in your field kind of make you excited about next few years? Talking
privacy.
About privacy. Okay,
definitely privacy, because from one hand, as a provider of services and everything, I would like to know about the users, everything. I do not need to know the name, but I would like to see their attribution source, everything like that. The journey, where they go, where they are coming from, maybe multiple touch points, which is getting a little bit harder, and it kind of makes me sad. On the other hand, I'm the guy who has like a disabled advertising ID on my phone, because I do not like anybody spying on me. So I'm really interested and curious about the next year, next 2 years or 3 years, where we find the sweet spot between these two perspectives. So how to identify the users, attribution source, performance of these users, and still being safe on the privacy side. So how to combine the consumer and the provider side. So that is something which Apple started or pulled the trigger on, especially about the IDFA, mobile attribution and the stuff. Also,
what is your opinion? Why did they start it?
Good question. From the beginning, I thought that they will be more pushing themselves into the advertising industry about Apple search ads, but either it was delayed and it was not started yet because they have like some advantages when advertising in their channel, but level of the spend they are like or revenue they are making from this source is not as high as I expected it will be. And I believe it's mainly due to the performance of the channel. You are not able to have such many customizations, options, possibilities, how to set up the campaigns. Also the scope or the user base you are able to acquire, since it is directly on the App Store, not on the apps they spend their time on, is much more limited. So first of all, I thought that they will be pushing more into the advertising segment, which did not happen yet. But they profile like more like a privacy centric company. So more I see it, more it makes sense.
And do you think that users actually benefited due to change of the privacies that Apple played last year? What was it in July?
Really good question. It really depends if you welcome the content similar to your interest, even though the AI is like somehow serving you impressions and everything. So if you are satisfied with it or you don't like that, so it really depends on the perspective. But from one point, it hurts even the user base, because they are not able to get as quality the same quality of the content like they had before. On the other hand, they are not living in the bubbles anymore, or we are still living in the bubbles, especially on the social networks, but the bubbles are not as precisely defined as it was before. So it's like a double-edged sword, I believe. On some parts, definitely users benefit from that. On the other hand, it harmed a lot.
Yeah, there was a great interview, and I forgot the name of the guy. He was one of the leads of the Facebook project in 2013, when they actually figured out the ads. What I mean to figure out ads is essentially like how you get that transactional dynamic that you can spend $1 USD today and generate 3 or 4. And he essentially explained that, and since this is your field, he essentially explained that they were buying data from data vendors like Experian, I think the name of the companies, and they would use these tables and do the joins between these tables and their user base that they had. And he was also explaining that pretty much like all their behavioral data was kind of useless till they did these joins between data providers, because they would get data, credit scores, amount of the purchases and whatnot. And when the huge backlash was in 2016, I think, with the social dilemma, I think the Facebook cut the ties with some of them. But what is confusing for me is, okay, there are these joins of data that make targeting more accurate. But from a technical standpoint, what is your opinion? Okay, now we can't track you on the Apple device. And there are two distinctions that are still not clear to me. Number one, attention is attention. People made millions out of the ads even before the tracking. So that's out of the question. But what is the specific, like what is the thing that Apple removed from a Facebook that made such a huge change for their business model? Like, what was that they were tracking about the users then when they could not do it anymore? Oh, okay, this is now the big issue for for a Facebook or Google, whatnot. Like, obviously, I don't expect you to know the answer, but I just would love to hear your guess on that.
Yeah. So as I said before, IDFA about the iOS devices, it's like identifier for advertisers. So it's kind of random string consisting of the letters and the numbers, and it is unique per device. So if you did some interaction within the application A, application B, application C, application D, one of them might be like the Facebook, another might be your weather application, which tracks your location, and if you give them consent, they can share it. Maybe some of them is like some electronics store. You are able, as you said, you have like the tables, and you do like a big join between them based on the IDFA. This IDFA is kind of your name in technical world. If you block access to this IDFA, so you receive only zeros instead of the actual name, so you do not have like the connection between these tables. So you know that this kind of interaction is coming from some user, another interaction is coming from another user, but you cannot group them together, combine. So the picture the social networks have about you is
so essentially what you're saying right now is that with removing IDFA, they lose the ability or the connector between their user base and any third-party provider that there is out in the world.
There is still like a way how to connect such data based on your like movement data, locations, tracking of your location, spending patterns, maybe email, maybe something you shared like on top of like just IDFA. Maybe on top of what I should have said before is IDFA is not removed, but it's opt out by default. So by default, you do not share it with application. But when you install and it asks you can allow access to it. But by default, it is disabled. So they do not know what is your IDFA. So it is not completely removed, but it almost acts as that because about 80% of people do not allow access to the IDFA in the applications. But back to the what I said. There is still a way how to connect you, for example, through emails, through mobile number, but it's much less intuitive, or it's much more complex to do such a stuff. Deduplicate users or combine user data into one single profile when you do not have like a single string connection between them, but you need to do it more like a probabilistically. That okay, this person is moving or their home location might be here. We see like a spending pattern like that person had. Yeah, it's just a speculation, but or might be a speculation. But from the comments or the feedback about the quality of the impressions, how it is being served, how good traffic you are receiving. What is like the profit? What is the profit from the campaigns before the changes and after the changes? There is obviously some change which was made, and it impacted these networks negatively. And the question is how Android will handle such a change, because from what I know, it is supposed to be released in 2023. The kind of similar limited tracking of your identifier, but since Android, belongs to the Google or Alphabet group, I do not expect that it will work exactly the same way, because they would shoot, themselves into the knee. So I'm really eager to see how it will work in real world. I don't mean in the documentation, but mean like what will be the impact of it.
Okay, and to sum it up, And we end on the exciting thing, as you said, the privacy is very exciting for you. What are the opportunities that you see for, because we always look at the downsides of the privacy as people working in the marketing and advertising space, because obviously we all benefited from this targeting and the ability to go on a users at such a scale, at such a precision. Even we can argue about that. Like, what are the actual opportunities that you can see in the next few years due to the fact that privacy is changing in this way? If you can share anything.
Yeah, sure. Why not? We were used to the approach, I would say, bottom up. So we started from the users and we tried to get like, what is the overall performance? I would expect that in near future, this approach will be switched. So it will be top down. So if you know about the marketing mix modeling, so you start with like the vectors or like the features, like what is the spend, what are the organic traffic? Did you have some featuring in terms of application and in-app store, which might acquire some traffic, some external factors, even maybe not the weather, but even like the COVID situation in a country. Maybe you are not able to 100% say that contribution of this specific campaign is like a 100K of revenue from what I see, but definitely this more probabilistic approach will be getting more popular than it was before, because we were, as you said, we were used to measuring everything on the user basis and then aggregate to campaign. Now, if we do not know how user behaves, especially in connection of the attribution source into the acquisition source, we need to start a little bit different. So yeah, top down. I believe it will be the direction a lot of big players will move into in next couple of months, couple of years.
Okay. Thank you so much for this conversation, and I'll make sure we leave your contact details in the description of this podcast. And anything else you would like to add at the end?
Have nothing prepared there, but definitely spread the word about this fantastic podcast. Listen to it, get the knowledge, and spread the word. And don't be shy to nudge me if you have any questions or anything, pretty much.
Yeah, David is also. Is it David or David? How?
Actually, in Slovak it's David. But,
David. Yeah, in our language it's also David.
Yeah, but it works either way for me. Yeah. I'm more used to hearing the David and David. So
so David is also in our premium group for VidTao users, also available answering and helping other members to kind of grow their data infrastructure and reporting. So if you're planning to join the group, leave till we do next promotion, and you can get a ton of value out of David and the other amazing people that we have there. So thank you so much. Thank you for amazing work you did for Inceptly, for you and Miro. And I see you probably tomorrow when we continue working on our subscription modeling. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for your time. And once again, thanks for the invitation.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of VidTao Podcast. Again, my name is Ian Naj, co-founder of VidTao, and really appreciate you having a listen. And it means a lot. So if you have any feedback, go ahead and email us at info@vidtao.com. Love to hear your ideas for future shows, future guests. If you want to be a guest, let us know. Love to chat. Also, just as a reminder, this show has been sponsored by VidTao, which is our free YouTube ad library. VidTao.com. Again, you can go to VidTao and look up over 1 million ads at this point inside of VidTao. They're all unlisted YouTube ads. You can see what your competitors are running, track the results on a day-by-day basis, find new ads inside of our YouTube ad library, VidTao. And we also have a premium edition of VidTao. So the library is free to access, But for full unlimited access to the library, we have a premium edition of VidTao. We also have training from our Inceptly.com agency, which is our sister company to VidTao, where we've managed over $150 million on YouTube. We provide training on media buying, creatives, tracking, copywriting, everything in between. It's all there inside of VidTao Premium. And right now we're running a very special deal on VidTao Premium. And you can go claim that right now at VidTao.com. When you sign up for free, you'll see the offer to join Premium and go there and check that out. And last thing, we also do free brainstorm calls with our agency Inceptly. Go to inceptly.com/call. And we love brainstorming with you on your video advertising and just marketing in general. Love to chat. So inceptly.com/call, CALL. Would love to speak with you. So thanks again for joining us and looking forward to the next show. In the meantime, have a great week.